7:01 p.m. This is the, what date are we at? Wednesday, January 10th, 2018. Finance Committee meeting. On the agenda for tonight, we have the beginning of the 2019 fiscal year budget process. We're going to discuss the Ayer Regional High School athletic field proposal, quick follow-up on the regional dispatch updates, then any other items that are pertinent to discussion. So Ms. Pompriand is joining us in the audience this evening just for informational purposes. If we have any questions, he's happy to answer them. I'm sure they will come up. So this morning, so we received the budget books yesterday, or the day before, Monday. We have all the submissions by the department heads, which are a little hodgepodge to look at. So I updated the budget model this morning, which you each have a printout for. So what I want to do is just kind of go through, I'm not sure how much everyone has been able to look through. I just want to kind of go through each of the line items and see what areas we have any questions on or comments, and we can then from there make our plan for how we want to schedule out the next couple months, who we want to meet with.
Okay.
And throw things on the calendar so I can get some invitations out to department heads. So we'll start with just at the top. So we have the moderator. It's a $10 increase that's in there. He will usually request nothing since it's simply a stipend. On the Board of Selectmen, contractual increases. There is some overtime increases and longevity. And then on other charges, there's appraisal costs have gone up, so there's a $2,000 increase for that.
Who's this administrator under the Board of Selectmen? Do we really need that one in there?
Oh, believe me, we do. Benefits management, everything is flatline. So these, unless it's let me preface this by, unless it's a contractual increase
Right.
In a personal service contract, it's not reflected in the budget. So this doesn't include any labor increases at this point. So benefits management is flatlined. Reserve fund transfer, $150,000. We'll look at what our spend is as we get a little closer to the end. As of right now, we haven't had to use any of it. We're halfway through the fiscal year, so usually I think we'll keep that around $150,000. A couple of years ago, we did look to reduce it to $100,000, but the town accountant did caution us against going too low, so we ended up returning it to the $150 for that budget. On the town accountant side, there is an increase on audit services. Sorry, I forgot to put the note in there. So Lisa had an email from the audit firm saying that they anticipate additional increases to the audit fees. So that's the big driver of the $5,000 increase on that. There's a decrease on longevity. The assistant accountant has retired, so that longevity piece goes down. On computer support services for the computer system, I believe that's for the Munis system, has decreased, and then services have increased. The increase on the 7,800 is the payroll services that they have. And I'll add, so I forgot to add those notes, so I'll add these in later this weekend. So it's kind of a net zero. It's only $127 increase. Moving down to Board of Assessors, there's a couple of contractual increases, one for longevity, one is just for an hourly rate increase for the secretary. That's fairly straightforward there. On the treasurer, everything is straight lined. The tax collector, there's a decrease in the services. There was no actual note for that, so I can follow up with, it's not huge money, and plus it's a decrease, but it's always just kind of good to know what it is. Finance Committee will level fund at 500 unless you guys want to go to Tahiti or something on
I think it should be
a fact-finding mission.
Yeah.
Parking tickets had a $200 increase. So this actually has been trending up over the last couple of years because we increased the police force 2 years ago. So actually the supplement to that is that now we have more parking tickets and more violations to be paid. Town council is a $10,000 increase over last year. One of the individuals we will be meeting with is the administrator, and we will discuss town council most likely in executive session. So it's easier. It's a freer conversation. Management support has just a $500 increase in supplies. Tax sale foreclosure is straight line. And also, if anyone has any questions of what any of these line items are for, feel free to ask. Town clerk is straight lined. Elections and registrations is an increase of $6,000. The big driver of that are additional elections in fiscal year 2019. So that's the $4,500. That generally fluctuates depending on what's coming up with the election cycle.
I saw that note that she had on.
I thought the notes that were attached to the budget were quite comprehensive.
Yeah, some of them do a very, very good job.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Town hall postage is. I don't think we got one for that. That one, I don't have my little X there, so they may have missed that one. Sorry. Personnel board is $500. We don't legally we still have a personnel board, so that will remain.
And I understand that will legally remain until the state approves the warrant that was approved at the last town meeting.
Yeah. Information technology. So on the services line, the web services, there's an $8,200 increase, and it said there was a detail schedule, which there was no detail schedule. So I'm going to follow up with Ms. Knox on that one. Conservation Commission has just some increased supplies and hearing expenses. It's listed here as planning board, but I'm assuming that should be renamed as town planner. Has some contractual increases, and then just establishing some funds for supplies, operations, and training. Zoning Board of Appeals is still $0. Urban development, economic development are flatlined. Economic development has a dual funding source. So half of it comes from the omnibus budget. The other half comes from, Robert, I'm sorry, I can't remember where it comes from. Can you?
The UDAG.
Is the UDAG. Okay, it comes from UDAG. So whatever ends up in the omnibus budget, the economic developer will also go to the Board of Selectmen for the funds out of UDAG for the other half of his budget. Property maintenance, buildings and maintenance. So there were there's a lot going on in that schedule.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it looks like this is, I updated it the best I could, and it is off slightly from what was submitted because he's removing $19,000 from the budget. There were 3 line items that he stripped out completely. But then he's also asking for there was $21,000 in the request that looked like to be one-time expenses, but they weren't called out specifically as one-time expenses. So I want to follow up with him on that.
And I think we added some more tonight, didn't we, Robert?
Yes, 3,000.
3,000 tonight.
We'll get to the specific.
Okay.
And maybe more depending upon an inspection.
Yeah.
Are those definitely going to be one-time expenses, or will those flow through?
So probably will
capital?
flow through. I've gotten my notes here in the capital planning, so we can. Oh, I can tell you right now if you want to know.
Sure.
Since we're talking about it.
Yeah.
In the capital planning, there was a $75,000 request for 6 rooftop unit replacements on the police station, and all the services and everything associated with that. But Selectman Hillman and Chuck, the new facilities guy, got to talking about it, and apparently Chuck is more than happy maintaining those units himself, and apparently they're still in good working order. So we added $3,000 to his operating budget
Okay.
to buy spare parts and other sorts of stuff. So if one fails, he can fix it himself instead of replacing all 6 of them. Especially since the heat transfers were replaced recently, so they're in good working order. And
This
he's
is
got-
over at the police station, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah, we
got an
did, I
H-
think, 2 per year.
Yeah,
for
he's got an
a couple years.
HVAC background, so he knows how to
Okay.
work on those things. So between he and Selectman Hillman, they decided that we don't need to
Excellent.
spend 75 grand to replace them. He
Great.
can maintain them, and we're going to increase his budget by $3K
Excellent,
ongoing.
It's a
that's
win-win.
awesome.
Yeah.
Looks like, so the one-time expenses, it looks like fire command day room carpet, police entrance carpet replacement, town hall LCD main directory display. Must be quite the main directory display, $9,500. Town hall staircase, second floor, great hall trim painting. So those I take as one-time expenses, but I will follow up.
If I can fill in a little bit of the
Sure,
darkness
please.
there. One of the things that was approved today was an external LED display of the fire station and electronic door locking system for town hall and the maintenance associated with it.
Okay,
So I think this has something to do with that, but it's an operating function, not a capital function.
Mhm.
So they hook together. It's
Okay.
for a good purpose.
all right. So it looks like, and Robert, please correct me if I'm wrong, there's a little more consolidation on the maintenance and within the public buildings department itself for all of the buildings. 'Cause I know there's the note here, cleaning supplies for the fire department next year, et cetera. Which is good, because you kind of bring things together. You should be able to save some money when you spend.
You're right on.
All right,
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on public buildings?
Nope.
Building insurance, 10% increase over last year. On the police accident insurance, actually a $100,000 decrease. And the comment was that the assistant town administrator did a great job looking for a new
Negotiating
provider.
a new provider, yeah. I
Yeah,
thought that was very cool.
and saved us $100,000. So kudos to her. Absolutely, that's a job well done. Looking at the police department, police department, primarily contractual for the most part. We have some of the newer hires over the last year being added in, and then increase for maintenance contract, and that's really it. So police is only about, as it stands now, just a 2% increase. On the fire department, primarily contractual increases, and then they're looking for a pressure washer.
I saw that.
Yeah, so the good memo on the pressure washer and electric for inside.
Kerosene, because of the odor, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it
Right
should
to the
help
point.
increase the longevity of the trucks, which would be great. Is that, Robert, is that something that they talked about maybe doing with like the other equipment in town? I mean, I know we're gonna have one inside the fire
Yes.
station, but have they talked about maybe getting one for maybe the DPW garage?
Yes, they are. They're
Okay.
back in the process of putting that together.
Awesome.
We'll get you that proposal.
Yeah, excellent, thank you. Building inspection is level funded with the exception of the wage increase. Barn inspector is level funded. Emergency management has some contractual increases and then a few increases in supplies. Animal control needs to be updated, but that is actually level funded from last year. The tree warden is level funded from last year. The tree warden budget has increased significantly over the last 3 years. It used to run around 18,000, and then one year he came to the committee asking for about a $5,000 increase so that he could get some trees to plant. And then the next year he came, and Lisa had helped him kind of go through what the expected expenses were, and that's how it grew to about $45,000. Let's see. DPW admin, so they're adding a new Rico copier. They are getting their new building this year, so there's some some increases to that, just to the operating cost. DPW highway, so $5,000 for administration, the new administration building landscaping, some union contract increases, and then one of the things that Mr. Wetzel has been doing, which he has some notes in, I haven't transferred all the notes here, is he's looking at his 3-year average for what his spend is and increasing or decreasing accordingly. So good utilization of the trend. Stormwater management has some movement within the line items. The stormwater upgrades, $25,000, but it's offset by decreases in disposal, professional, and also in some of the public works lines. So net, it's a 3% increase. Snow removal, so we have, the only increase is $20,000 to salt and sand. My thought on this, I know it's $320,000 is what's being requested for next year. And looking at it, and it fluctuates every year, but looking at, I think the spend, we're a little over $300,000 on average, depending on the winter. So my question for Mr. Wetzel when he comes is there additional costs involved? You know, has costs increased? He had talked one year about contracting out some sections of the town, and then the other one is any of the additional roads that we have built out in town. You know, are there additional costs that are going to be covered in that?
Well, maybe from a budget perspective, he can just average up to take in anticipated costs.
Yeah, so we can deficit spend, so it's very tempting to just say, we'll level fund, and
Yeah.
so I think the 20,000 is a good increase.
Yep.
But I think that's a good conversation to have with him.
Yeah.
And see how comfortable he is with that.
That's what I mean by average up.
Yeah.
Anticipate, say, 5% more than you
Yeah.
really think you're going to need, because you're probably going to need 6.
I know.
So,
We'll see how the rest of this winter goes.
yes.
Street
I've had
lighting.
enough of it, by the way. If we
Welcome to New
As a
England.
committee, if we can do anything about it, if we can say enough winter has happened. Have you seen my friend? I went out and filled my bird feeders today. I sunk in the snow up to my knees.
Yeah.
I can do without
It's
that.
New England.
That's right. Get used to it.
Yeah.
I did it.
And you'll do it again.
Yeah,
That's the great
I
part.
will tomorrow. 'Cause yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Street lighting. So the LED conversion is beginning. So actually $20,000 decrease to the line. The impact of the LED conversion is unknown, but the electric cost is supposed to go down. For DPW fuel, the only movements were $6,000 decrease, but it actually created a negative in the line item for the air housing and the parks department fuel. So I'm not sure if we can actually budget a negative number, unless we're going to charge them and it's revenue coming in.
I just saw that, we have to get clarified.
That's fine. Yeah, we'll fix that.
I'm sure Lisa can figure out what to do with a negative budget line item.
Oh, we all can. DPW equipment repair. So there's a new line item for rentals, which is included in that $2,200. Put it in repairs and maintenance until I have a chance to fully update the schedule. A couple of union contractual increases, and then 3-year averages. Cemetery department is straight lined. Board of Health is straight lined. Neshoba Board of Health is straight lined. Disability Commission is straight lined. Council on Aging is straight lined. And we had Mrs. Swanfeld in earlier. She will always ask for a straight line and she'll make it work. On the Veterans Agent, so just a $100 decrease. We do get Devon's payments because he's also the Veterans Agent over in Devon's. And he works part-time. He's here, I think, 3 days a week. So the only thing I wanted to, my thoughts on this, because we've had Mr. Detillion in here a couple of times, is he provides a lot of services to the veterans. and just to make sure that he feels his hours that he's allotted is adequate. So I was going to reach out to him just to confirm that if he feels he needs more hours, I could see giving that to him.
As a disabled veteran, I couldn't agree more.
He does a fantastic job. Veterans benefits. So he's flatlining from last year to 140,000, but that's one of the lines that's trending for reserve fund transfer this year. So I do want to just follow up on that and see if he still thinks that's a good number. So moving to the library. So overall, the library is 2.86%, but when you dig into it, they have some personnel moves that kind of raise some questions.
Yeah, they reclassified.
Yeah. So the excuse me. So the assistant director is slated to get a $14,000 increase. And then to offset that, it looks like they're removing a head of adult services. And then they're creating a part-time 20-hour-a-week youth librarian. So the concern that I have, and I haven't had a chance to go back through my old notes with the library, is the last couple of years they've asked for additional personnel. One was a young adult position, but I want to try to go back through my notes and see if I can find what the other one was, because I would hate to have allotted money for another position just to kind of have them kind of take the money, give it away, and disperse it elsewhere. Just doesn't sit well with me. So a couple things on the library budget. So they have to, per state law, they have to have a set minimal percentage increase every single year. That dates back to the late 80s when all the towns were slashing their library budgets to try and balance their budget. So the state came in and, some towns were completely closing libraries, and then all the surrounding towns would get inundated with all the patrons. So there was a minimal increase. I think it's around 2.7 or 2.9%, one of those two. And then within that, there's a requirement that 19% of the overall budget has to be spent on books. So they can't just have a budget and pay people. They actually have to use it on materials. So Mr. Pomprian and I talked briefly yesterday, and one of the things that came up in our conversation was the amount of money that some of the departments are giving back, and I guess the library gave back a significant amount of money last year. So want to make sure that they're spending that 19% on the materials.
Apparently, the head of adult services salary is not being requested in FY19.
Correct. Yeah. So I think they're using that to
But
offset.
the assistant director is going up, as you said, $14K.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're distributing the rest of it across the crew. However, the library adult technician is doubling, and the library technician youth is going up by about 25%. So they're redistributing the funds.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing, but is that an appropriate redistribution? Because the assistant was compensated and had been compensated the same for quite a few years with a 2% increase. All of a sudden, they get
I know.
35.
Oh, I know.
It's like, wait a minute.
I know, and I look at that, and so it is kind of a gray area because they are run by the board of trustees, which is elected, and they consider they're somewhat semi-autonomous.
Yes,
but I do think they do have to be held accountable to town meeting because town meeting appropriates the funds.
Yep.
So yeah, good catch on the adult library technician. I didn't see that had doubled from last year. So we're planning on meeting with the library or calling them in, so I will get feelers out for that.
Good.
So on the Parks Department, so they level funded even though they have additional costs for a new building. So I actually reached out to Mr. Thomas this afternoon, and it kind of explained to him that if he has a new building, we would expect his bottom line budget to increase. So I requested him to resubmit its budget with keeping all of his salary lines in place from where they were last year. And then, any COLAs or contractual increases will go on top of that. But then it should increase, kind of spelling out what the new costs are for their new building. So the budget will actually grow over last year.
He was in today, and we approved, I don't know where it was, I got it here somewhere, something to put in a new swimming dock, a U-dock is what he called it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he said that the new building is actually going to go out to bid probably in the spring, and it's anticipated to be actually built probably at the end of fall.
Nice.
So he may not know what his expenses are going to be to maintain that new building, so he might just have to put some placeholders in,
Yeah, that's fine.
which is okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's an estimate. First year that you have something new like that, we don't expect, you to know exactly what you need.
No.
That's why we have the reserve fund transfer. All right, any other questions on parks before we move on?
Nope.
Okay. I know this is like the most boring thing we ever do as a committee. So, Air Shirley football, $4,000 level. Little League, $4,000 level. So these two line items have been the same amount since I started on the committee. We never receive a request from them. We never receive a thank you for them, but
We just allocate it.
the funds go out.
Do they spend it?
Yes.
We send it
They
to
do?
them. Yeah,
Yes.
we send it
Yes,
to
and
them,
I
so
would
they
agree
are
with the
spent.
chairman, this is my 8th year, and it's always been this,
Yeah.
and it's spent, but there's no real communication.
So what happens, they don't give them anything.
We threw that out. We actually threw that out one year, and somehow someone got word of it. I can't remember who it was, but they actually came to our meeting, and Ms. Gabri was here also for that meeting, and they were he explained kind of like what they did with the money and why it was important, and it was actually Ms. Gabri who was like, well, a request would be nice. Just something to acknowledge that you're getting something from the taxpayers of the town. So a lot of what that goes for is just supplementing, primarily their insurance costs.
There's no doubt it's a good use, but I
Exactly.
believe
Yeah.
there should be a request for it.
There should be some sort of explanation.
Yes, there should be an audit trail that
Yeah.
validates the expenditure.
Yeah, and I don't even think we have contact information for those two. So.
I'll follow up on that, yeah.
Checks and balances.
Yeah.
Historical Commission is level funded. Public Celebrations,
funny.
$2,000. That's for Memorial Day. American Legion, $600. 4th of July fireworks, $10,000. These are all level funded. Holiday lights, $10,000. Retirement of debt is an increase. So this is driven primarily by capital planning. So the $131,000 increase over last year, with $47,000 of interest over last year, will be detailed out, and those will move as capital completes their process.
I assure you those numbers will go up.
No, I'm sure they always do. Retirement and pension compensation, $88,000 increase. That is just something that we get from the county, so that we have no control over that. Workers' compensation is about a 10% increase, which comes from the town insurer. Unemployment compensation is $25,000. It is level funded over last year. However, we ran into an issue 2 years ago. So we went from, and I can't remember the terms exactly. One was contributory, where we pay in every year, and then when we have a claim against us, the state would pay it out. But the previous treasurer had gone back through history and found that we didn't have any claims over, I think it was like the last 10 years. So there's the other one where basically we just pay it out of pocket. And I can't remember the technical term for it. The problem was we did end up having someone who put in a request, and it was $40,000. I think it ended up costing $40,000. So right off the gates, and the budget line at that point, I think, was only $10,000. So my concern on this one is that if we do receive a single claim, we're automatically creating a reserve fund transfer. So I think it would be, is this, Rob, is this Mr. Johnson that
Yes,
owns this
yeah.
one? Okay. It may be worth just a quick conversation on the unemployment. You know, from my perspective, it
And is
was.
this a reserve, or is this actually, this is probably a reserve?
It's
not
more of a
paid-
reserve. It's
Yeah,
not
okay.
nothing.
Yeah.
We're only going to pay it out if there's
If
a
the-
claim.
okay.
Yeah. So
So don't we have an unemployment compensation insurance that
well,
we
that's
pay
the
into the
contribute,
state?
but that's the contributory, which we don't do anymore.
Oh, okay.
Because if
now I
you look
understand.
at how much
Okay,
we were
I got
paying,
you.
because that, she explained it, that's based upon the percentage of
Right.
your payroll.
Absolutely.
So as our payroll kept growing, we were paying in all this money, but
Yeah.
we weren't
Never using it.
exactly. Yeah, we were never using it. So I
It's
think
going into a state fund.
we had spent, I think it was like $200,000 over like 5 or 6 years, and we never used it. So therefore, we went to this, which works great. And don't get me wrong, I think it's definitely worthwhile. However, we get one claim, and all of a sudden, we're going to eat up a good portion of the reserve fund transfer.
So this is almost like going to a self-insured unemployment compensation issue.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
that's a fair
I
way to
understand.
put it. Consent.
I got you. All right.
Other
That
employees.
is risky,
Well, I mean, it's not.
but it's
We
nothing
have the
wrong
reserve
with
fund
it.
transfer, so it's not risky. But
As long as
Yeah.
you have a reserve fund to cover contingencies, it's just,
other employee benefits, 4% increase over last year, and then group health has some significant movements this year.
15%. Whoa.
Yeah, significant increase over last year. Well, we have more employees for one, plus the costs have gone up.
Yep.
And then indirect costs, we didn't have anything down there. So then so that's kind of the from this line on that last page up is all of our operating expenses as a community. Everything down below are our assessments or savings that we do. So we'll get the Ayer Shirley Regional School District assessment and the debt allocation in a month-ish. Neshoba Valley will send us their assessment shortly. And then we OPEB put in there's 300,000 that we put in for last year. We have a committee that will look at that and make their recommendations. And generally, what we'll try to do is if we have a surplus at the end of putting the budget together, looking at the revenue, we will then move on to kind of splitting between stabilization
Gotcha.
and OPEB. Then down on the bottom, we'll see there's a revenue from the enterprise funds. So that is driven by the cost that we are reimbursed from the enterprise funds. So, for example, all of the fire department is, including the EMTs, are in the fire department budget, but when they go out on an ambulance call, they're part of the enterprise fund for the ambulance. So their costs while they're on the ambulance will get reimbursed back through the town. So that number Lisa will throw together. So that's what the primary sheet of the model looks like. So I threw it up on the board here on the Mondo pad, so I'll give you guys just a really quick walkthrough how it works. So you can see, I will distribute this with updates as we go through the process. So this is the summary page, the Omnibus 2018. This will pull basically this detailed sheet into just very higher level, and this is actually the way the budget gets presented at town meeting. So it's in less detail, but it will give the prior year, current year, and then what the increase is, what the percentage increase is, and then there's a line for just any notes that we have. The revenue piece is, I know it's hard to read, but I can't really do this backwards very well. I can't increase it. So this breaks out what our revenue is. So we get our tax levy, our funding from the state. Then we have other local receipts, things such as building permits, excise taxes, etc. Then we have free cash that comes in. We have an overlay surplus account, and then
And free cash comes from the Department of Revenue, right?
free cash is certified via the Department of Revenue, so that is what when we collect more than what we actually spend, we have
Right.
money left over. We have some charges that go out, so there's the cherry sheet charges, those come from the state, and then appropriation deficits, so this is for, in this case from last year, this was how much we spent overage on snow, because it was a really good ski season. And that gives us our net amount that we have to spend for the year. So on this piece here, one of the things that I personally look at is, even though we have all of the funds that have come through on our estimates, is to not necessarily spend it all. So the growth estimate generally has been $300,000 to $400,000 per year. Some years it's been higher because we've had a lot of building in town. Generally, we put this sheet together. When up until the last couple of years, when the finance committee had some issues with quorum, et cetera, and we were more involved in kind of driving the process, would be to strip out some of that growth number, because one, it is a high estimate, or sorry, not only a high estimate, it's an estimate, but also just because it's there doesn't mean we have to spend it. Because this, what we allocate at town meeting, drives how much we
And
have.
that'll roll over into free cash the next year.
Yeah, it does, but it also impacts the tax rate. So
Of course it
if we
does.
definitely allocate all the funds to be spent, it impacts the tax rate. Usually do a detail of what's approved for capital. There's a stabilization calculation in here that is driven by what the financial policies are. We want to have a certain percentage of our operating budget in stabilization. Sustainability, this is just a little calculation I threw together to look at what our revenue is, what our expenses are, and to make sure we're not using any free cash or, kind of, I haven't looked at this in a while, so bear with me. It basically looks at, it's pure organic growth.
And you're not living on borrowed time.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, and then I do like the large increases. This is part of just what I use to put together the presentation for town meeting. So generally what I try to, when I've done the presentation at town meeting, and whoever does it next, I will actually show what the largest movers are for cost increases, whether it's the school district, police department, fire department, to give a little more insight into what the drivers
This is
are.
omnibus costs, not capital.
Yes, omnibus, correct, omnibus. Yeah, the capital piece, depending on what we're looking at, I can send you the presentation from
That's okay.
a couple of years,
I understand.
2 or 3 years ago,
I understand.
to give you an idea of what because at town meeting, I don't want to, like Lisa generally does her presentation of the budget, and from our perspective, from the committee perspective, I don't want to sit there and just rehash what Lisa's gone through.
Right.
So here's our growth. Revenue grew by this much, operating expenses grew by this much, and then with the schools it's this much, with the schools in OPEB it's this much, and then here are our big drivers for movement, and then any concerns that we have.
Well, that's what our remit is. Our remit is not to state what Lisa states.
Right.
It's to show deltas and trends,
Yeah.
not specific numbers, because Lisa does that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple of things. Last town meeting at the 11th hour, the town moderator wanted to have like a public forum before town meeting, just for for Lisa and myself to kind of present the numbers
The
for
one
the
in May or
budget.
the one in September?
The one in May.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, the one in May. My apologies. So I think we got that call like Thursday before town meeting, and so number one, we had no time to advertise it. Number two, there was no way I was going to be prepared for it, other than the presentation I was going to give at town meeting. But I think it's worthwhile contacting the moderator, and I'll throw that out there, see if he's interested in that. The other thing Mr. Pomprian mentioned to me, he was talking with Mr. Hogan, the assessor, and I think it's worth having a public information forum on how our tax levy works, how the Prop 2.5 and the tax levy, how valuation impacts your taxes and your revenue. Because it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot more complicated than you think. I've been doing this is my 9th year, and I think it took me about 5 or 6 years to realize that it was as complex as it is.
It is very complex. Yeah.
So that's the budget.
Okay.
our initial walkthrough. As we get updates, Lisa will forward them to the committee. I will keep the model updated. And if anyone wants lessons on how the model works, happy to give it.
Well, I'd like to know. So,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I know Greg has mentioned interest in that. So what I can do is I can post a meeting with just a working session. The three of us can get together. I can walk you guys through. Maybe we can maybe do it in here just off hours, so that we can use the Mondo pad, and I can walk you guys through. So we'll follow up with the clerk. The IT director, just on what the web services are, public buildings, the one-time expenses, confirm that the 21,000 is that. DPW fuel, just the negative budget numbers. The veterans agents, make sure that he feels the hours are adequate that he's working, and also that the benefits will be high enough. We'll meet with the library. We'll discuss the personnel. Parks is resubmitting their budget, and then unemployment benefits will follow up with Mr. Johnson for maybe a conversation at one of our meetings.
That's good.
All right, excellent. So that's all for the initial walkthrough. So Pat, you want to bring us up on
Sure.
capital planning, please?
Well, I've been sending you guys copies of the
Yep.
minutes, so you're kind of up to date. So today, we had a semi-wrap-up on where we are, and what I'll do is is Lisa going to email us these, Robert?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
As soon as I get the email of the consolidated, I'll send it to you guys.
Okay.
But today, we did facilities and we did parks. We also closed out on one issue with DPW, and that was the garage storage facility, the solid waste garage storage facility, which is a $450,000 request, which would have ended up being a debt exclusion. And what we decided to do was to defer that for a year. And the driving issue there was the facility's purpose in life really is to extend the life cycle of the equipment. According to Superintendent Wessel, storing them indoors versus the way they're stored today adds approximately a third to their lifetime. So at the end of the day, you look at it and think, wow, that's a lot. So we discovered today that all of the equipment that would be stored in there is in the first third of its life cycle. So we agreed as a committee that we could defer this for a year and it wouldn't hurt anything. So, and we've got a lot of expenditures already.
Yeah.
So we decided to defer that for a year. So that was one of
Okay.
the decisions we made. The facilities, I mentioned earlier, we took $75,000 out of the request and basically replaced it with $3,000 in operating budget so that Chuck can do the maintenance on the police building himself, which is good. There's an automated HVAC monitoring system that was $49,950. We've deferred that for the moment so that Selectman Hillman, as a private citizen, will go with Chuck to look at the facility itself and make some recommendations on whether a new computerized super duper system is needed.
Yeah. Is it this still for the police
Police
station?
depart- yeah.
Okay.
So once that is done, they'll come back to us and we'll see whether we have another session and what we do. I suspect, my guess is, we'll add another few $1,000s to facilities operating budget so he
Okay.
can maintain those things himself. He has the skill in the background to do it and the desire. So
Excellent.
that would, yeah. We approved $35,000 for an external LED display for the fire station.
What is that?
It's a big board that goes up on the building of the fire station that is for annunciations and announcements and that sort of stuff.
Just something like in front of the high school.
Very similar to that, yes.
So like Vegas,
Yeah. It's,
we're going to be that town.
yeah. Well, one of the things I requested was that we could at least show the Patriots game. So we could. So anyway, we agreed to do that.
How much was that?
That was $35,000. We also approved an electronic locking system for the doors here in this building.
Thank God.
I guess I don't need to say much more about that.
No.
It's the system we have
Been
now
scratching our head on that one.
Antiquated
So
cards.
is longer than Arcane,
Yeah.
right? It used to be, at least we don't have to wave chicken bones and feathers any longer. But this will actually, everybody will have a card, and it'll be computerized, and it'll tell you who's
See
in the
who
building,
goes
who's
where,
not,
and-
and the whole 9 yards. It can be looked at remotely, so it just kind of brings City Hall up to the standard that it should be at. So that was
Okay.
approved.
Good.
We approved in the parks the dock system, which I mentioned earlier, which is a U-shaped dock. There's apparently 2 docks over there.
Yes.
One is the one that's out in the pond a bit, and the other one which is right close to shore.
It's a small one. It's like,
Yeah. And the director of the Parks Department has recommended that what we do is we put in a U-shaped one,
Yeah.
which will have like a 20-foot wading pond, so to speak, in the middle of it. Plus, you can walk around it, so the little kids can play in there. It can be used for swimming lessons and those sorts of things, which seem like a good use of funds.
Yeah.
So
That's how most Boy Scout camps are set up.
Exactly.
The
So-
new docks.
we approved that. For the fire department, we approved the request to replace hoses, nozzles, and appliances.
If we have to.
I mean, it's like, okay. I'm sure they use them.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also agreed to replace what they call the forestry service truck, Forestry 2
Yes.
service truck. It's a
Okay.
2001 Chevrolet or whatever it is, for $44,000. We approved that. So those two,
How much did I sell on the old one?
Stay tuned.
$41,000.
Well, it's vintage.
And Robert is buying it. We have to give him a 15-month warranty, though.
Yeah.
So that was today.
Nothing over 14.
Exactly. We also approved a $300,000 purchase of a new ambulance for the fire department.
Okay.
Apparently, one of the ones we have is dying
It's time.
or is expired or whatever. So we approved that today. And like I said, we put the $450,000 garage storage facility for solid waste in deferral. So
That's been in deferral for 5 or 6 years now.
this is not the first time.
Yeah. So the initial proposal that came from that, I can't remember if it was Mr. Wetzel or his predecessor, Mr. Nason. It was like a full building that had office space for the like a area for the employees. Plus, it had the garage and everything. I think the price tag on that one was like $2 million at the time. And yeah, it was quickly like no, that's too much.
Well,
So-
this one would be up at the transfer station area. It would include a shop area
Yeah.
for maintenance and those
Yeah,
kind of things.
which makes sense.
But again, as I said, considering the equipment that goes in there, its life cycle, the life cycle that we still have, we decided to defer that. So those were the decisions that the capital planning made today.
Excellent. Thank you for the update.
You're welcome. And like I said, when I get the latest update minutes and new spreadsheet from Lisa, I'll send it to you.
All right, so moving on, so our schedule for January and February, just pulling up the calendar on my phone here just so I can look. So our next meeting is the 24th, then we have the 14th of February and the 28th of February, and then the 14th of March after that. So, Robert, do you know when is the go-to print, or do you have a rough estimate of when that is?
When's the next
That's usually early April, correct?
24th.
Correct.
Okay,
Give me 1 second, I can give you a little more.
Thank you.
Now, while you're doing that, on the 24th, I may not be able to attend that meeting because I'm returning from New York City on that day, and I get into Manchester at 4 o'clock.
Okay. All right, we'll follow up with Greg then.
If I can, I'll be here, but I don't know that.
All right.
So,
What's the
Mr.
February?
Chairman,
Yep.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry.
What's the February dates?
14th and the 28th. Sorry, Robert.
no, my apologies. So town meeting is on Monday, May 14th, and we would need to have the warrant completely finalized and sent to print by Friday, April 20th.
April
So
20th.
I would assume that the boards would approve the final let's say on the 17th, Tuesday the 17th, but that
Yeah.
week, so the absolute drop dead date would be Friday, April 20th.
Okay. So we should try and plan on getting the budget 99.9% there by the end of March. I think you doing the DPW last has actually been really beneficial the last few years because it's a moving target for him. So I don't know if the 28th would, I guess the March 28th we can do DPW. And then, so we have other ones we're going to meet there with Mr. Pomprian, the administration budget, so fire, police, and then the library. Do the library on the 14th.
February?
And then, so I'll put out feelers for our next meeting on the 14th and on 2/14, our next two meetings, I'll put out feelers for, or Mr. Pomprian, and also I'll include yourself for the next three meetings between the police, fire, and yourself, whichever ones you prefer to come to.
Sure.
So I'll get that memo out by the end of this week.
Good.
All right. So we're officially underway. Good times. All right. So next, the Ayer Shirley Regional School District Fields Proposal. So these are incredibly rough draft numbers. And I want to stress these are incredibly rough draft numbers. So the proposals that were put forth at the meeting that we had with, or the big meeting that we had with everyone, including the school district, was a 10-year plan or a 15-year plan. So on top, there's two columns, one for the 10, one for the 15. The project cost is the Ayer portion of the cost of the project, and then the total interest is that's an estimate I got was on information provided by the town accountant. That gives us our total cost. So 10-year, the total cost will be $4.3 million for the town. Over 10 years, the 15 will be $4.7 million, almost $4.8 million over 15 years. So looking at the 10-year, and these won't break out specifically across the 10 years because the first year will be actually a half-year payment, so it kind of skews the way that the numbers will flow. But just simply looking at it by dividing that by 10, it's $430,215 per year. And then down below, this is where it's a highly rough draft because myself and the town assessor were a little apart on our calculations. He's changed the way he does calculation from the way I've done it. He taught me how to do it back when we were looking at the school budget, the school project. So I use the same calculation on the school project. And the average home value is $312,800 in the town right now. So the impact per year will be about $100. For the 10-year, about $74 for the 15-year. And then off on the right-hand side, so the coming off estimate, these are the debt exclusions that are coming off of the tax rate. And I'll show that schedule to you in one moment. So it's 100, based upon the, looking at it from a tax rate perspective, on the average home value would be $145 per year coming off the tax rate, off the tax base. And then, so the net for year one is actually $45 credit or reduction, and $71 reduction for the 15-year. So that was kind of Mr. Gleason's comment that, well, the first year pays for itself. So, which, yes and no. I mean, it's not necessarily the schools to take, but because we still have to pay for it after the fact. And then there's still the questions about other possible projects or costs that we have. I know we've all mentioned concerns about Page Hilltop. So let me show you, we put together a schedule. I want to update if I can for this purpose. It's been a while, so bear with me if I can find It's a big file. I like big spreadsheets.
I can tell. That's where you do databases, so why wouldn't you? Right?
I like to take big gobbles of
Infinite,
information and
yeah.
present them. Oh, come on.
Big data.
Yeah. Try not to break it.
Probably doesn't have enough RAM to handle it all.
No, it's not that big. I had it up on the old Mondo pad a couple of times. See if that triggers it. Isn't technology wonderful?
When it works.
Well, it is working.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see if it comes up. I'll explain it to you.
I had it on my phone earlier today.
What's that?
I had it on my phone earlier today.
Yeah. So what we did for the school project was we actually built a schedule that had each of the debt exclusions in town going out 20 years and showed what the impact was. So you could actually see, you could visually see when certain ones were dropping off. And I wanted to recreate that for the same, for this purpose too, because I think it's important for people to see, you know, the part of what their selling point is going to be is that it's paid for in year one, but then that doesn't help us in year, you know, 2 through 10. Plus, if we have other questions about the projects that might need to happen. So this is a very rough estimate. I'll continue to work on this financial impact. I'll work through the calculation. So just so you know, the town. I'm trying to think. So the town assessor calculation came out to about $80 on the 10-year debt, as opposed to $100.
I have a general interest question.
Sure.
Of the assessments, and I just received mine, well, I received it the other day, but I got the email today, and of the $1,700 for the quarter
Yes.
that my assessment is, which I don't have an issue with, what percentage of that is debt exclusion and what percentage of that is actual assessment of the property value?
Good question.
I don't know.
I think that's very relevant.
We can find that
Well,
out.
it is. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's easy enough to find
Yeah.
out.
It has to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the calculation that I used for this was one that the town assessor had walked me through, where it's per $100,000. That's still not working. Tell Cindy I'm sorry.
It's okay.
No, nothing. All
You
right.
tried.
So for $100,000 worth of cost that's incurred, there's a ratio rate that is absorbed by the residential rate, and it's like 0.0747. So you take your 100,000, whatever your cost is, divided by 100,000 times this 0.747, which has shifted slightly as the tax rate has fluctuated slightly over the last 5 years. And he actually said it during the tax hearing, and I listened to the whole thing again, and I missed it the second time around, which was killing me because I had to sit through the whole tax hearing again. times the average value of the house, and then you divide it by like the number of years that it's gone. So that's the calculation I used, which I know that 0.0747 is slightly out of date and needs to be updated, but I don't think it'll skew the numbers down by 20% or by 20%. But also I wanted to just kind of I know you guys talked a little about the fields on the 13th because I watched the meeting, and it seems like as of right now there's a lot of questions as to the proposal and the timing. I know personally for me, I really think that it's early to do it without really an idea of what's going to happen to Page Hill Top and what we want to do with Page Hill Top. To me it feels like, trying to think how to articulate it the best. So if we go ahead with the field project and we build these wonderful fields, it basically we have a limited footprint.
You're landlocked.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to. Is we're landlocked. So we have a footprint which is
I
new
think
high
I brought
school.
that up to Mr. Gleason during our meeting. When
Exactly. You can build the nice field, not like it's just one of the grass fields. It's going to be the nice field. It's going to be right next to the Page Hilltop, and then we're just left with that smaller lot. So here's my concern is, and actually my opinion is, I feel like a situation is being created where when it comes time to do something with Page Hilltop is we're not going to have a choice to do anything there, and that's how they're going to try to push a joint elementary school with Shirley, which would probably end up either being on Devon's or
next to the middle school.
next to the middle
So
school.
at that point, you have to go back to the regionalization pact and
Yep.
open that up for a vote and all that. And I think that Shirley's going to look at the exact same problem with the Laura White, and I think that's what.
Well, I have a concern, not having children at either one and not having been here for very long, so I don't have the history. But the premise for this development, which I found highly flawed, was that by doing this, it's like if I put out a better mousetrap, the mice will come. If we build a top-end athletic facility, that we're going to have people moving into the town so their children can attend the high school to participate on that field. And I don't see that as...
I think when you move into a town with a young family, they go and look at the primary schools first off to take a look and say, hey, look, this is where I want my kid to go and develop through the process. And if you look at other areas and talk to people that move to a town, or we've been in the same boat. That's what you go and investigate. You choose, do I want my kid going to a primary school that's like this? Okay, the secondary is fantastic, but the primary is the core where that development is going to start.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and
the
Page
selling
Hilltop is that example, and I don't think it's a very good one, personally.
I agree with you. I completely agree with you.
I think we've been there.
Oh yes, we've spent a lot of time there. The selling point with the high school, which I was fully supportive of the high school, because if you ever saw the old high school, it was horrific. I mean, it was dark, it was dungeony, it was just not a very good learning environment. I think I got lost there half the time I went there. Couldn't find a bathroom for the life of me. If I went to like any event in the gym, you had to go search for a bathroom. It was ridiculous. So. But the selling point was, if you build it, they will come. They looked at the movement within the student population within Ayer and Shirley, and they saw that at 8th grade, that's when they started losing a lot of kids to the Neshoba Tech, to private school, to choicing out to Harvard, to Littleton, to Groton, to Lunenburg.
To Westford, Westford.
Yeah, Shirley had a lot of kids going out to Lunenburg because they had an agreement with Lunenburg. So the Shirley kids used to go up through the middle school in Shirley. They would choose between Ayer and Lunenburg and then go to that school. So that was their selling point before. And I think to Chris's point, now we've kind of flipped the pendulum where now it's come down to, we needed the high school because kids were going into the primary school, which has a great program, but
Got a great program, great teachers.
absolutely.
Just the environment is
But
skewed.
when they get up to the high school, that was where things were kind of falling apart, and we were losing the students. Now we're kind of at the other end of the spectrum, where, the first school that the kids go to, I think, is subpar. And my problem with this whole thing is that they haven't asked the citizens of Ayer what we want to do about our primary school.
Exactly.
And it's just, don't tell us what to do. Have that conversation with us of what we want to do. Because I firmly believe that if they came forward with a primary school proposal, even if it was a new school, rebuild, whatever, I think this town would wholeheartedly support that. Because I think it's long overdue and it's time. And,
When you have a teaching environment that has buckets in the hallway, buckets in the
Yeah.
classroom when it rains
It's not
out,
good.
it's not a healthy environment. Not for the students, for the staff also.
Yeah, and the timing on the presentation, because when I was putting that together, I walked through the presentation again, is they want to put the fields forward, but then after they put the fields forward, then they want to do the assessment on the 2 elementary schools. So it feels like, personally, it feels like they're setting up for a situation where we're not, as citizens, we're not going to have a choice. And I think part of that is, and I'll just say it out loud, part of that is I think the Shirley factor, where they're afraid that not being able to get a primary school for Shirley, so if they do the combination where the cost will be less for Shirley, but it goes back to ask us what we want to do about our primary school, because one of the selling points of the regionalization agreement was each town owned its primary school. There are some Shirley kids that are here, there's some Ayer kids that are there, so if it was a build, it wouldn't be 100%, it's like 99.7% would be paid for by Ayer, but let us make that decision. Don't kind of pigeonhole us into
Force us. We're going to
Yeah.
be forced into
which is
regionalization.
what
And,
if yeah
and on being on the school building committee, the field was in our first half of it. The field was going to get done, but through the cuts that we had to do through the school, it got cut out. A lot of that was driven by cost, to keep costs down. If they would have went with a model that was up at the beginning to build a brand new school, that would have been in the footprint of the football field, and the football field would have gone over where this old school would have been torn down. And we had it where this school was. There was money in there to rebuild the field, but there was cost that the school building authority it wasn't reimbursable funds, so it was going to come out of our half. So the cuts that we had to make, the field was one of that. Back when we did that, it was for the building. So now here you are at this hour back asking for it again, it seems.
and to me it kind of feels like their long-term vision. So one of the things that kind of was happening at the high school was they didn't do any maintenance. So when it came time for the building proposal, it was, oh my God, look at the building and the condition. We need a new roof. We need this. We need that. And I understand, if you have a plan to replace it, why put a lot of money into it? But it just kind of felt like it was dilapidated to a degree where you couldn't say no. I mean, not that I would have said no even if it was in better condition, because just the building structure itself was just not very conducive to learning.
And they were at that part with their accreditation where they weren't going to be accredited any longer.
Correct.
Because there was stuff that they couldn't do to fulfill what they were asking for.
The education department requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other factor I don't think it was asked is about, or was touched upon briefly, is fundraising also. You go over to Lunenburg, and if you've ever been to Lunenburg's fields, absolutely gorgeous.
But the half of it, it's going to be a nice place, but you've got all these others around us now that are built.
Right.
So here you are at the 11th hour where everybody else has got the jump. You've got the new one in Townsend. There's a new field there. There's a new field in Lunenburg. So it's a lot around you.
When you walk into Lunenburg, there's a giant plaque that has, in different sizes, so it has all the people or companies have contributed to it, and so there was a lot of fundraising went into that.
And Acton Boxboard is the same down there. There's a lot of
Yeah.
fundraising to do some of theirs also.
Yeah, I floated an idea back, I think it was during the school when we were, because the fields weren't on the school building radar when they had dropped it. I was talking with, I think it was Pat Kelly, and I said, you know, I'm like, you could probably sell bricks, you know, to do like the walkway around around it for, I mean, you sell a brick for like $20-25. I think the cost on those is like $3. So you get good return, and you know you can build
They're
up.
named bricks. So
Yeah, engraved bricks, and
Yep.
yeah,
I think they
so-
did. I think they were going to do something like that, but it was in the auditorium for a seat or something like that. It was buy a seat with your name on it.
Yeah, with a plaque, little metal
Yeah.
brass plaque.
I'm
to go
actually
in the
asking
back.
for that for Father's Day this year. We were in there for the concert back in December, and they still
Yeah.
have the sign up, you know,
There you
buy an auditorium seat. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I never bought the auditorium seat,
There you
so
go.
I'm going to ask. That's going
Great
to ask
idea.
for that for my Father's Day gift. So I think for a follow up, I think they're having a public forum tonight on the field. See the time or next Wednesday. But I think it'd be worthwhile having one of the members of the regional school committee in to discuss and give our concerns.
I think that's a very appropriate thing to do.
Okay. So I'll get I'll get an email off to the three representatives, see who wants to come in and see what their timing is. Anything else on the fields?
Nope.
No? Okay, excellent. So I put on regional dispatch updates, and I only put that on just want to make sure you guys are good. The meeting on the 13th looked like you guys had some good answers. All your questions
I
were
think the
answered.
packet. I think the packets answered a lot. We didn't get the
They did.
packet till late. I think if we got the packet earlier, I think we could have saved Bill and Lieutenant Gill a trip down
Okay.
here. It answered a lot of questions.
Yep.
All right,
I
excellent.
think they got a great idea by doing what they got to do.
Yep. I think they've handled that beautifully.
Yep, done a good job.
Excellent. Good. So looking at the mail, we have 2 beacons, because I haven't been getting the mail for a while. My apologies. A couple budget statements, a couple budget submissions, Board of Health submissions.
This came via email.
Yes. Yeah, Carly had sent those, so the beacons are up for grabs if anyone wants them. Carly had sent those because I think you guys had gotten your budget books
Yep.
Yeah.
before they came,
Yeah, and I
the
get-
submission came.
Yeah, I copied that one off today. The one that
Yeah, I
Alright.
printed it out.
We don't have any minutes tonight. ISOLO the September 12th, I will get that done shortly.
September?
Yes. I've been
September or December?
September.
Okay.
September.
Just checking.
Yes. So I became clerk I think it was my first year I became clerk after, actually no, I was clerk for the first year because they always took new members, put them as clerk, because it's actually a great way to learn. And then the second year we had a clerk who just disappeared, just stopped coming. So, and the problem was that he was so
Backlogged?
backlogged on his it was like 4 or 5 months worth of me, including all the budget meetings.
Ugh.
He hadn't submitted anything. And I wasn't the chairman at the time, but the chairman was emailing and wasn't getting any replies whatsoever. So I volunteered. I actually went through all my notes and recreated 4 months worth of, including all the budget meetings. And this was when we met 3 times a week for 4 straight weeks. So September's not that bad.
It's all a matter of perspective.
It is, yes. I've been through worse. Committee updates. So we got the capital planning update. On the executive buy board, Mr. Pomprian and I had a quick conversation last night. So I think given our just observations tonight, he's going to discuss getting a buy board together. So Pat, being the vice chair, you'll be invited to that.
Good.
It'll be the 3 of us, plus the town of Canton. Is the board of selectmen going to send a representative?
Probably be a selectman.
And the selectmen will represent it, just to kind of discuss overall the budget, and so the questions that we have, we'll get the answers off, and it's a good collaboration and
Sure.
kind of information sharing, because some things will come up, especially during the budget process. Things will come up where Lisa will get things at the 11th hour, and she'll construe those to us during the buy board meetings. Finance committee roundtable. open up to members first. The only thing I wanted to mention is the MMA annual meeting and trade show is January 19th and 20th. That's a Friday and a Saturday. It is see if I can- Heinz Convention Center down in Boston. So if anyone is interested in going, you feel free to sign up and the committee will reimburse you for going. Mr. Pomfrey and a few of the other town officials generally go to that every year.
Yeah.
But this is the first year it's actually been on a weekend. So it's usually midweek, so I've never gone. That's all I wanted to mention. I have nothing else. You guys, nothing?
Nope.
No?
not a
Open
thing.
up to the audience. Anything to say? No? Okay.
Bueller.
All right, so next scheduled meeting is the 24th, so I'll get invites out to fire, police, and town administrator to see who wants to come in. So for these next 5 meetings, the first agenda item will be budget. So
Yes,
we'll get
absolutely.
the individuals in, and we can that way we can get them out of there, so they don't have to sit and watch us approve minutes or do anything like that. And then we'll continue on looking at the fields. I'll send out a feeler to regional school committee members, and we'll try to fine tune what the cost will be, and anything else that comes up, we'll just deal with as it
Yeah,
comes.
and anything that comes up with the capital planning, I'll
Email it.
email it,
Okay.
and then we can discuss it at a session.
Excellent. Yeah, so what is the date today?
10.
The 10th. It
So
was earlier.
usually, trying to think calendar. So usually the revenue estimates aren't readily available until I think the assessor usually has them next week or the week after. It's
Yeah.
usually mid to late January before we have revenue estimates, and then the cherry sheets come out the last week of January. If you guys have MMA, have you signed up for your MMA yet? If you go to MMA.org,
Okay.
Oh, I think I did when I went to the May.
you get a user ID, so
Yeah,
there's
yeah, I've got that.
there's some good stuff there. It goes silent for quite some time where there's nothing posted. But just MMA.org, and you sign up as a member, and it takes a couple weeks for you to get your ID, because they actually have to confirm with the town that you're in that position. There's a section for finance committee and selectmen, et cetera. So it's got some good information there, and actually you can get the information. All the presentations that they had at the conference back in October that I went to is on the website now.
Well,
So-
I think the conference I went to in May for the new officials, we were signed up for the MMA as well.
It's part of our dues that we pay
Yeah.
to the MMA as a committee, so each of our members have access to that.
Yeah.
All right, if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn
I
at
move that we
8:19.
adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chairman